Hi everyone, Michelle here from Michelle Morius Art with another tutorial on soft pastels. We're going to use soft pastel pencils and we're going to use soft pastel sticks for this exercise today. I'm drawn my image on a piece of tracing paper, and then I'm going to turn my paper over, add some graphite to the back, and then we're going to go over it, which will leave a little bit of graphite on the paper to give us our outline guides to start our pastel drawing. This is just going to give us a very light outline left on the Clairefontaine Pastelmat paper, which is a very heavily toothed paper, which really is my favorite for any kind of pastel drawing. I find it's really unmatched. But I'm going to go over some different papers with you and just give you a brief overview of what's available for pastels. So guys, I'm going to go over some of the papers that I use for pastels. I do not care for like the Fabriano, the more papery papers. I like a more rigid surface. If you like a really rigid surface, the ampersand pastel board is a great choice. Comes in a whole bunch of different colors, and it's like a masonite board that's been treated with a clay base material that has a nice tooth to it that holds the pastel to the board. So this is a really great choice if you want something that's really rigid. My favorite papers are the Pastelmat. Pastelmat comes in different sizes. It comes with a glassine sheet in between each page. So there's a glassine sheet that protects your work. And I suggest keeping this on your work if you step away from it or you leave it for a day or so. Put the glassine sheet on top of it. It will keep it clean, keep dust from settling on it, and just it'll be a lot better in the long run. I suggest after you're done your final product that you get it matted and framed fairly quickly. This way that protects it. So this Pastelmat is the anthracite, so it's a gray color. I also have a variety pack here. So this says wine, dark blue, light blue, and sand. And you'll see this is the burgundy, and then in between each sheet is that glassine sheet. This is the blue, and then they have gray, tan. So it's nice to have a variety of colors to work from, and use what works for you. If I'm doing a really dark background on something, like a black background, I would start with either a wine, a dark blue, or black, something, or the gray, something that is already dark. It helps you pick your values when your background is a color. That's just a personal preference. Then moving on, we have the UArt. UArt is also a sanded paper. This is great. It's a little rougher. It does come in different grades. If I bought this again, I would probably go for a more fine grain. I thought this was a bit rougher than the Pastelmat. Pastelmat almost has like a smoother. This is more like sandpaper. Works great on pastels. It is a fairly rigid paper. The Pastelmat is a little bit more firm than this. Then I treated myself to some brush and pencil. I'm gonna do that in a different video, but brush and pencil makes a textured fixative to work with the brush and pencil powder blender. You would use this for color pencils, not for pastels. I'll do another video on this as we go. But when I bought this set, I bought the paper that they recommend with it, which you can use for pastels or you can use with colored pencils. As far as pastel goes, this has also another huge variety of colors to pick from. I like that there's a black in there if you're doing something with a black background. This has a really nice border around it. It's a fairly rigid paper, and it's got that textured sanded surface, which is really what you want for pastels. If you use the papers, the problem I have is I like to work in a lot of layers, and the other papers, not the ones that I've just gone over here, the other papers tend to get fuzzy, because if you put more and more layers on, it doesn't have enough tooth to have that pastel stick. So really, these are my favorite choices for pastel papers, and I would suggest trying a few different things and see what works for you. But really, all of these are unmatched as far as pastel work is. So they have, this is a cool pack, there's a warm pack. It's archival and acid free and light fast, so your all of your drawings will be last for years and years, and that is the same for the Pastelmat as well. So just if you want to really have success with pastels, picking the right paper is really, really, really important, and I suggest that you spend a little bit of money on any of these things. They'll make your drawing so much better in the end run. You can put a ton of layers on all of these because they're heavily textured, and you don't have to worry, like I said, if you use the papers, they don't take as much pastel. They're a smoother finish, and your drawings will really just come out so much better on the right paper. I always like to start with my background first, unless I'm doing like a really black background, because it gets a little messy. But I put in my background first, and this way, when I go over that little mouse with all of the fur texture, he looks like he's on top of the background, and not that the background is kind of cut and pasted around him. So if we just did the mouse first and then did the background, we'd really have to go over and add some more fur that goes over the background, so it doesn't look unnatural. I start by going in, just kind of mapping in my colors. So I'm adding in some pastel, and then I'm going to blend it with these soft tools. These are the blue handled tools you see in front of you. They have a sponge applicator tip, and they really push that pastel into the hills and valleys of the paper, so that you can add more on top and keep going in with your more details later on. So right now I'm just really trying to get a good base layer down. Everything blends a lot better when you have a little bit of material on the paper. And as you can see, I'm going in with the hands. Now I'm going to go over several times. This is an arduous process, and you'll see it evolve as it goes along, the drawing, and how things start to change. But blending really is the key to get a good smooth transition in the hands, and I do spend a lot of time on the hands. So just keep watching and you'll see this evolve as we go along. Make sure that when you're putting the fur on the mouse, that you're always going in the direction of the fur. So all your strokes are going in the direction that that fur is going. And this will give you a much more believable end product. Make sure to keep your highlights really bright and clean, and make sure that your shadow areas are dark enough. So you want to use a full range of value, all your midtones, all your highlights, and all your shadow areas. Try to keep it clean, try not to muddy it up. As you can see, I have put some black as a shadow on the one finger, And I'm going to go over that with some brown and blend it in and make it look not so dark. Black tends to flatten things, so try to use other colors beside black when you're using shadows. I hope you've learned today about different kinds of papers for pastels, what works and what doesn't work. And if you've enjoyed this tutorial today, please leave me a comment below. I love hearing from each and every one of you, and I do get back to all of you. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy art!